in 4 accounts. That should give you confidence. This is too detailed from individuals who wrote the accounts too near the event for it to be a myth. More from Dr. Busenitz. Mark 4:38, he cites, Jesus himself was in the stern asleep on the cushion, and they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?"
This is a really interesting thing that he brings up here. And it's interesting because if you read Randall Helm's Gospel Fictions, he actually painstakingly goes through all of the Gospels and points out all of the connections between the Gospels and the Old Testament. This particular story right here is about Jesus calming the seas, right? So Jesus and the disciples are on the boat. There's a sea, which doesn't make a lot of fucking sense because the sea that they're on is really just a big lake, right? Think the fucking Ozarks or something like that. Anyways, you know, he calms the sea. The reason why this is worked in there is because of the book of Jonah. You see, Jonah is seen as a prefigure to Jesus Christ. In fact, Matthew actually says that there will be no sign that Jesus is the Messiah other than the sign of Jonah. The sign of Jonah is, you know, him being trapped in a whale for 3 days. Jesus also likewise is dead for 3 days, and that Matthew explicitly makes that connection. Well, Mark right here is using the book of Jonah in order to generate this stilling of the seas, or the calming of the seas in this storm. And the "teacher, do you not care that we are perishing" is linguistically similar and even directly lifting some of the phrases from the book of Jonah. In the book of Jonah, what you have is Jonah calling out to God, saying, "Oh, do you not care that we are about to drown?" and all this other stuff. And so God stills the seas. The disciples here are like the fishermen. In this particular section right here, I'm guessing that he's going to harp on some detail, and he's about to do that. My point in bringing up the Jonah thing, though, is the fact that it was mined from Jonah, and it was not at all like a historical event as far as we can tell. If you have to mine information from a book from the Old Testament in order to tell the story of something in the New Testament, then more than likely that event didn't actually happen.
He was in the stern on a cushion. Why the detail? Oh yeah, because they were there.
You know, this is just an assumption here. It's speculation. You can't know that they were there. Also, this particular statement seems to suggest that the disciples, or some of the disciples at least, wrote or at least informed the Gospels, which we don't have any evidence of that happening. This right here could just be the author adding in some detail to explain the scene. I mean, when you're writing fiction, you're looking to paint a scene in the reader's mind. So my guess is that they wanted to do that, is painting a scene for the reader to envision. And I mean, who would want to sleep like on a hard floor of a boat? Like, I don't think that anybody would. I think that most of the time people would want to be sleeping on a cushion, or they would have at least some kind of padding there to sleep on. I really don't think Jesus would just be passed out on the deck of the ship. I think that he would be sleeping on something. So this isn't really an extra detail that doesn't need to be there.
And they knew the details. Verse number 2, that is an example, is John 21:8. But the other disciples came in the little boat, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards away, dragging the net full of fish. Or consider John 21:11. Simon Peter went up and drew the net to land full of large fish, 153. And although there were so many, the net was not torn. Who would know that there were 153 fish? Oh yeah, an eyewitness who is telling the truth. But there is more.
Why is that your direct go-to thing? Why can't this just be something that they made up? They could have just pulled a number out of their ass. Do you really expect that? With John being written in the 2nd century, do you really expect whoever wrote John to know that 153 fish were caught on that particular fishing expedition? Like, nobody's going to sit there and count the fish out that they caught in a net, okay? So this doesn't scream, oh, they were eyewitnesses. They knew it had to be there. It screams, I pulled this number out of my ass. We caught a shit ton of fish that day. And also, I would think that this would just drive with the point that there were so many fish in the net and the net was not torn. This is advancing some kind of plot point or message or character development. It's matching what he said before about how this is an inconsequential detail.